So I heard this conversation being brought up the other day in a little fantasy mock draft thing that someone was talking about online, and it genuinely got me thinking to the point where I was like, I gotta turn on the camera here, discuss this rumored potential trade package idea with you guys, and get a load of what you guys think and what your thoughts and opinions are with the Richmond Football Club and the Gold Coast Suns potentially going into a trade deal which would send the Tigers, third overall pick at the time of making this video, for basically a ton of Gold Coast selections. Now again, before we do get into that, I would just like to say I kind of think I want to do a Q&A on the channel eventually. I don't know in what format am I going to do this Q&A or what it's going to be, but occasionally I'll get one of you guys, go in the comments down below and ask me a question revolving around myself, my personality, what I enjoy, something like that, right? So I thought it'd actually be a little bit of fun to kind of, do an announcement here to say that I'm going to be doing a Q&A video in some capacity. I don't know how it's going to be, but if you guys would like to go in the comment section down below and comment any question you have for me, I would very much appreciate it. This could be obviously to do with footy, I think is what a lot of the questions are going to be, but if you guys had any questions to do with something personality wise with me, regarding maybe music, movies, all of the above, whatever it might be, comment it down below and let me know, and we'll see if I even get any comments and you guys even care to actually go and make this video. So I thought I'd do that quick little announcement. But back to the video topic again. What I saw online was actually a rumored trade package that would include Richmond trading away the third overall pick in the 2025 AFL draft, and basically they would receive in return pick number 8 that the Gold Coast Suns currently have from Port Adelaide, pick number 13 that they currently have on their own, pick number 18 that they have from Collingwood, and of course a future first round pick as well. Again, these picks could change, by the time this video comes out. So if one of these picks, pick 13 or something gets changed to pick 14 or pick 12, don't go in the comment section down below and threaten my whole family tree saying that's wrong. Again, hopefully nothing changes, but of course there is a little bit of a likeliness that could happen. But again, this is a really interesting trade for a lot of reasons. Again, it's up for debate whether Richmond would actually trade pick 3 or pick 2 because they have both of them. I've seen a lot of people say, Gold Coast would probably ask for pick 2, but it is a really interesting trade for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of pros and cons about it, and then of course give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions on whether or not I think the Tigers should do this and whether or not the Gold Coast Suns should of course do this. Now again, this becomes a really interesting trade because a lot of teams that have academy players are reportedly actually trying to get much higher picks. For example, the Gold Coast Suns, I think at the time making this video, have the 4th and 7th, ranked players in the draft. I know one of them is, of course, Bodie Hewland's younger brother, Zeke Hewland, who some people believe will go really high. Again, I think he's actually ranked 7th. There's another guy who's ranked 4th. But again, basically why the Gold Coast Suns would be wanting to do this trade and give up all of these first round picks is essentially because if Bodie Hewland and the other Gold Coast Suns academy player get, bid on at, of course, maybe pick 4 and pick 5, that basically means that the AFL, with the new stricter, harsher rules to match, of course, academy and father-son picks, would most likely take a lot of those first round picks away from the Gold Coast Suns, meaning that there is a chance, I think, in reality, where to have, of course, pick 4 and 5, if those players get, picked at those spots, they might lose, of course, pick 8, 13, and 18, and maybe even some later picks. So the Gold Coast Suns don't really want to do that. They don't want to lose all of those first round picks. So basically the idea would be is that they would actually trade up in the draft to a point where, of course, by the time it comes to their selection, let's just say they get Richmond's pick 3, those Gold Coast players, Gold Coast Academy players, won't have been bid on, meaning that the Gold Coast Suns could draft the guy at pick 3, and then, of course, if a team bids on the other 2 guys at 4 and 5, they get them as well. So they basically could end up with pick 3, 4, and 5 roughly in this draft if they were to trade up for, of course, those, that pick from Richmond. Again, some of you guys might be like, well, if they trade up those first, though, how are they going to match to get the other players? Well, that's the thing. I think the Gold Coast Suns will just trade for a bunch of 3rd and 4th round picks and late 2nd round picks or whatever. They'll probably get like 6 of them somehow. And they'll, of course, be able to somehow match the players, because that's what every team does every year. Even though the rules have gotten more strict, I think they'd still find a way to somehow make this happen. So that's why the Gold Coast Suns want to do it. And that's why there's a lot of pros from them. And it's also like they're going to want to get the top talent now. They don't really need to be drafting later guys because their team is ready to contend now. So they're going to want to get the best of the best. But when it comes to Richmond, again, the pros of this would be basically if you do expect that you are going to make a lot of changes at season, end, you are going to be able to bring in a bunch more 1st round picks now. I mean, you're getting a top 10 pick still out of this trade. You're getting a near top 10 pick in 13, and you're getting pick 18 from the Gold Coast Suns as well, plus a future 1st round pick. Again, would the Gold Coast Suns give up that much? Yes, they actually would. And the reason for that is because, as I said, there's a lot of Academy and Father Son players in this draft. So by the time all the matchings and stuff come about, that pick 8 that Gold Coast give Richmond might end up only being 13 or something like that. The pick 13 might end up being like 20. The pick 18 might end up being like 30. But then the future 1st will hopefully be very good for Richmond as well. So yeah, Richmond basically, if they were to move on from a bunch of guys, there are some guys we don't really know if they're going to be on the team next year, like a Jacob Bauer, right? If they were to move on from a Jacob Bauer, it, frees up a list position. If they will move on from a couple other guys, will Prestia maybe retire? What's going on with McIntosh? Will he stay next year? They could end up having 4 or 5 list spots, meaning they're going to have to fill them. And there is a big chance that Richmond would absolutely back in their drafting to, of course, go and take some really good players. Because at the end of the day, those are still going to be 3 picks you'd get back in the top 30, plus a future 1st round pick for next year, which could maybe, help for a trade of like a Harley Reid next year, or maybe a Zach Butters next year. Whatever it might be. There's a lot of different situations that could benefit the Tigers here. But in saying that, in my opinion, I think this trade benefits Gold Coast probably 10 times more than it benefits Richmond, because the proposition of the Gold Coast Suns being able to trade those 4 1st round picks, which are just okay picks, right? Being able to trade them for a top 3 player in a very compromised draft and still being able to get pick 4 and 5, those guys get taken at those picks. That is elite for Gold Coast. That is absolutely insane, because you add 3, elite young players to this already really, really good team. While if they add the other 4 1st round picks, or maybe only one of those guys, 1 or 2 of those guys will end up being a future player for this Gold Coast Suns team, especially with how stacked they are. The other guys just might not get an opportunity. So the Gold Coast Suns are very much going to look to go top heavy in this draft, rather than, I think, keep these 1st round picks, in my opinion. But for Richmond, I don't know if it benefits them that much, because yes, I believe Richmond would trust and back in their what looks to be elite drafting from last year, and probably try and take another, Luke Trainer, Harry Armstrong, who fall down in the draft, but this time maybe being a small forward or a half-back or another wing or something like that. I don't know if the Tigers would do that, because of this draft is so top-heavy, and there's a clear gap from the top 5 to the next part of the draft that's being said. I think the Richmond Tigers might trust in their guns and take the players they want. But in saying that, it's also, if you look at it, that Noah Hibbins Hargreaves guy, I think that's his name, from Dandenong, you know, he's ranked like pick 26 on the, I think, draft board, but some believe he'll go top 5. Some believe he'll go top 10. Do Richmond select him with one of these top picks, or do they maybe make this trade with Gold Coast and hope he's still available by the time that pick 8 pick from Gold Coast genuinely comes around? Or what do they do? So there's a lot of different, you know, opportunities that the Richmond Football Club are going to have to overlook here. And there's also like other things. The Tigers could possibly, again, with those 3 first-round picks this year, they might, by the time they get to the 3rd one, realize, look, we don't really want to take anyone here, and trade that pick into next year and get a first-round pick for next year. Then all of a sudden, you're looking at their pick next year, the Gold Coast future first next year, and whatever they trade that other first for, and you'd have 3 pretty good first-round picks, I'm going to assume, to maybe look at the free agents and look at the trade market that's going to happen next year. So there's a lot of really interesting things. Do I think the Gold Coast Suns are going to offer this trade? Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Those 4 first-round picks won't benefit them anywhere near as much as what getting pick 2 or 3 would be for their team. But do I think Richmond will accept it? I would assume not. I think they'd back themselves in. But also, that's a lot of capital to get that, again, if they back themselves in, they could maybe draft the under-the-radar small forward or under-the-radar wing with one of those later first-round picks. Maybe go about their business like that. I'm not exactly too sure, but that's why I'm making this video today, to hear what you guys have to say. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below on what do you guys think the Richmond Football Club should, of course, be doing. Should they go and do this trade? Is this a trade that you guys would like to see, bring in a bunch of first-round picks? Or would you guys think that the Tigers should possibly go for a different angle? Again, I'd very much like to know. Of course, comment your questions for me down below if you guys have any Q&A questions or whatever it might be. Subscribe to this channel for all latest sports content and news. My gaming channel, which will be getting linked in the description down below as well. Go subscribe to that. Even follow me on Instagram. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, that'll be linked down below as well. But yeah, as I was saying, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.